think the honorable thing for our species to do is deny our programming. Stop reproducing. Walk hand in hand into extinction. One last midnight, brothers and sisters opting out of a raw deal.
Do not trust any friends or family members. I repeat, do not trust friends.
Take that, Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Take that, you lousy, boring son of a bitch.
He was a lifeguard and football player and got 5 draft deferments for asthma.
Asthma bullshit.
Yeah.
From the guy who caught COVID at least 5 times at this point.
So he's a rich piece of shit draft dodger. Okay.
Yeah.
You can outgrow asthma.
You can outgrow asthma. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess by the time you turn 80,
By the time you go 80, it's no longer a concern.
Yeah.
Here's the
Bike around,
Republican
fall off your bikes.
The Republican National Committee website. Is Joe Biden a liar or draft dodger?
I'm going to go with both. It's not an either or.
Yeah, hard to come out of that on top.
Yep.
To be fair, I would have dodged the fuck out of the draft. I would have severed
yeah,
my hand or
kidding.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, Chris. Yeah, absolutely.
Man, even Elvis went, guys.
I'm sure he did.
They probably
just
didn't put him
fucking,
in
like,
the thick of things.
Yeah, they just protected rich people or fancy people anyway. Didn't fucking you could go unless you're a fucking absolute clown.
I would have cut my finger off. I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah. No question. I can't fire a gun.
Yeah.
I have no trigger fingers.
I have in here.
Yeah.
You could just go the asthma route. I mean.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my asthma's acting up on me, and if that doesn't work, cut off my finger. You know who didn't cut their finger off, guys? And
Doug Moench?
Doug Moench, that's right. Doug Moench has all of his fingers. I don't know how he didn't end up going to war. He was born in 1948. He's 75 now.
Who?
God.
Doug?
Yeah, Doug. Alive and kicking. He lives in Chicago. We should go visit him.
We should. That's not
a
that
hop,
far.
skip, and a jump from here.
Yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
Show up to
Anyway,
the door.
everybody. Hi, everybody. It's Extinction Agenda time.
Oh yeah.
With James.
Oh, James.
Give the
Yeah, James here too.
And Chris.
That's good. There we go. No, not so good. Not so good this time. I'm going to give us a 4 out of 10.
No,
Well,
I
we
tried to
have
figure
TV
out if
Just like
Doug
this
Moench.
comic.
I tried to figure out if Doug Moench dodged the draft too, and all I got on my Google search was a list of Jews in sports.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Far
I know.
Jeez.
I'm not sure how that pertains. I'm just
Yeah,
like,
not
Google-
helpful.
Google let me down hard.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Sadly, it doesn't. Anyway, I was just thinking that other people, for them, that would be like a fruitful search in their quest to find the Jewish overlords that rule over everything, as they tend to want to find. Anyway, yeah, I don't know how. Yeah, sorry. Hopefully, that doesn't make it sound like. As the words were coming out of my mouth, I was like, I hope this is coming out properly. He was just a weird kid. I don't know how he dodged the draft, but if anyone could have used a wartime experience, it was Doug Moench.
No, this is fine. This is. I believe this is what war is like.
Yeah. So today on the Extinction Agenda, we're going back to Epic Comics land. I don't know if we've ever been here before. No, we have with martial law. When Chris and we did martial law, that was an Epic Comics thing.
Oh, way back.
Yeah. And 6 from Sirius. It's two miniseries with Paul Galassi, and the first one's from '94, and the second one is 86, 84 and 86. I won't give the specific dates because I didn't write them down, and frankly, I don't care. This was a foray into Marvel's attempting the direct markets opening up at this point. Creator owned is starting to become a thing. Dark Knight Returns, I think, that comes out in 85, I think. So this predates that a little bit, but there's been all sorts of prestige graphic novel efforts kind of at this time, both from Marvel and DC, and also the above ground comic scene and stuff. And so Marvel's like, okay, we're going to create an imprint like kind of like a Vertigo, but it's more like, what if Vertigo was heavy metal? It's an attempt to kind of horn in on the heavy metal market in the 80s by giving creator-owned books or opportunities for creator-owned stuff to guys like Doug Moench, who's a big star for DC, and Paul Gulacy as well.
Is that why Jim Shooter's on the consulting editor?
Yeah, well, I don't know if he's editor-in-chief at the time. Like, is he consulting editor on... Yeah, he's on
this
both
book.
of them.
Yeah,
both of them, on both of the series. Yeah, I don't know.
But they have 3 editors though. So.
Yeah, but this is the brainchild of Archie Goodwin for the most part. Well, not even the brainchild. He kind of got roped into it. It was supposed to be someone else's, and they fucked it up, and so they brought in Archie Goodwin, who's like a real veteran at the time.
The KG vet.
Yeah, the KG vet. And so, yeah, I don't know why Jim Shooter, I think, is editor-in-chief at this time. So it's interesting to see him listed as a consulting editor. But you're right. Maybe it has to do with the structure, like the creator-owned structure.
Well,
anyway.
Just real quick, brief overview. Did you guys like the first set of 4 or the second set of 4 better? Because this is 2 parts, right?
Yeah. I think I like the second one better.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, really?
I know you didn't get to okay. So the first thing we should say is, like, these books are a fucking slog. These are so unreadable. They're not unreadable in that. I don't know how to characterize it, because I often accuse things of being unreadable.
I'm going to say,
chore.
if you were sitting like alone in a Muskoka chair, like really alone, like out secluded in the woods, and you had this baby with you, and you could sit and like read back everyone's speech bubbles in the voice you think that they had, I think it would go okay for you.
Like, really slow it down somehow. Like,
yeah, like if you were, yeah, exactly, and smiling smugly, you cheat again, Starn. If you were like just like sort of like putting on a play by yourself, and you had like multiple days.
Totally, I like that.
I think you could do. I think it'd be fun.
I think there's an irony.
That's how you'd have to read it like that, though.
Yeah, the irony is that, like, it's such a slog that the only way to speed it up is to slow it down. It's like it's the Doug Moench paradox par excellence.
Yeah,
that does happen sometimes, though.
What, where you end up in a paradox, or
no, if you just have to like read something line by line, like, it's because if you try to skim, you're gonna like have to double back and like try to recapture what was said because it's rolling over your head.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, okay, so
but
I experienced that. That's not. Did you say it's not worth it, or it's worth it? No.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it. That's exactly it. Because you're like, you feel as a responsible reader that you're like, okay, like, because there's so much exposition.
I had that happen a couple times where I'm like, oh my god, like, enough, and then I'll skip a page. I'll be like, oh, fuck. And then I go back.
Like, they can't be saying that much, and then you're like, God, they just told a whole short story.
Yeah, now I'm in like a fucking completely different planet.
Yeah. So yeah, these books, I don't know, like, how do we? Very few people have read these books, I would imagine.
I don't think we're gonna add any new readers to the.
Yeah, this hasn't been reprint for some reason. Not quite sure why. I think it should be reprint. They did do a reprint 20 years ago, but I think we're due for a new release on this one.
Nice.
I think so.
I mean, personally, that's what I think. But
me too. On art alone,
yeah,
this is sort of a magical book. Like, this is something I would like to crack open, like to have, even if you like things for like drawing reference, or it's almost like what's that friggin' like Jodorowsky's stuff's always has odd artists, you know.
Yeah. Let's talk about Galassi. Two of my prized Doug Moench comics are my 2 issues of 6 from Sirius that I have. Like I just love to open them up. This is my favorite Paul Galassi stuff, and it's funny to read some of the responses to it at the time. Like this kind of blows us away, is the sense that I'm getting. But at the time, like there was a lot more painted comics. There was a lot more photo reference. There was a lot of people around kind of doing something like this, and I don't know why everybody seems to think that Paul Galassi is like the OG guy, but nobody really thinks a whole lot about this story except for Doug Moench himself, who thinks it's just like exceptional in the Paul Galassi canon. But this is, for whatever reason, this wasn't regarded much at the time, and I don't think it's very much regarded now.
Well,
just big mistake.
Maybe part of that puzzle is that there's a lot of talking head scenes, so like it's the dynamicism of the action sometimes gets buried a little bit, but if you really follow it through and like look at the details, it's amazing.
Yeah, but this is not the first collaboration between Moench and Galassi. Like the intrusion of so many words onto the page isn't new in this collaboration, I would imagine. You know, I'm thinking back to what I've read of Master of Kung Fu, and that's a wordy fucking book. But something about this in particular grinds. Like they're working like lockstep together. Like there's a vision going on here, and I think it's working at a certain level, but somehow I do think you're right, Chris. I think the wordiness does slow it down, and I just think I guess maybe what I'm saying is that like it's interesting that it slows it down in this particular book, but maybe not the other ones or this series.
I love that you use the word vision, and I think part of the problem, like Doug's always going to get in his own way, but I think Galassi whips him into shape, and even in the back matter, there's an interview with them where like they outline some of the creative process, and then how like Galassi keeps sending him pages back, and basically he's more or less mock offended by the fact that there's an editorial process with accountability. Like he's like, what do you mean I got to rewrite this stuff? And like I think we get to one aspect of the Doug formula, which he needs somebody to just like kick the shit out of him and like tell him, this is stupid, Doug, get back to it. Because there is, like, for all the ham-fistedness and corniness of this and like the over like verbosity, whatever you want to call it, there is actually a unity. Like it's the first thing we read by him that hangs together properly. Like it's coherent, it's competent. It's, again, like it puts even Chris Claremont looks breezy compared to some of the shit, but like
yeah, you're right. And maybe that's why it's so stiff, though. Maybe this isn't like the Doug Moench maybe is better when he's left to be a little bit more of a wild man, like and things don't hang together, because
could be true.
Because remember, like we read Slash Maraud, and that was Paul Galassi as well. And that thing was a fucking romp. That was a beauty to read. That was insane, and it made no fucking sense. And no one was reining anybody in, and it worked. And I'm wondering if that actually like is the problem, rather than like it. Maybe it's an illness rather than a cure. Right?
Yeah. Well, I think Star Wars looms over this too. I think there's an attempt to write some serious sci-fi, which probably factors into the stiffness and the seriousness of it as well.
Yeah, we should talk about some of these fucking characters. It's not just Star Wars. Although you're right, of course. But I get vibes of like, it's not, I don't even think it's serious sci-fi, but it's adventure sci-fi.
Adventure sci-fi is a better word.
Yeah, like TV sci, like Space 99. Like this is so not 80s. This is a very 70s book.
That's true. There's not the design, even the designs, the costumes, hair, facial hair, like everything. It does feel really 70s, even especially like you can see in the female characters. that the even the sexiness and the like the garb and stuff, or what would have been interpreted that as like coming at me like Adam West Catwoman, you know.
Yeah. Whereas Slash Murad is like the ape from '87. If I read an extensive sort of profile of Galassi, and he was thinking about MTV at the time, so that's when he starts trying to capture that aesthetic. And it's also not in space, like it's a sci-fi. It's not a sci-fi epic in this sense, and like maybe that doesn't. Galassi fucking pulls it off, but I mean, like maybe that's just not the. I don't know if they ever did any other sci-fi together. Oh, I know they did one relatively recently, but that didn't look good either. But I think Galassi's kind of fell off in old age, but that's just my opinion. Yeah.
Did you? Okay, so you wanted to talk. Sorry, you wanted to talk characters. So
yeah, we should probably.
I think we should give a run through.
Yeah, who are the six?
Who are the six? We can do this together. I'm gonna start with Grodd, who is green.
Oh
With the porn stash.
But no, yeah, he looks like Rick Rude with a crown on, though.
Exactly. And he's kind of like a Klingon, I guess. He's sort of a warrior kind of guy, and he like
But
Grodd
more
wants
stoic.
nothing but peace of mind and living mind. You know, he's sort of like a noble savage kind of.
Yeah, the old dub standard, like it's not really like spoken or anything, but you get the sense that he's like he has like enhanced strength and combat abilities.
Yeah.
But he's not a killer. He's like probably the one of them who's like will go for mercy, and he's the pilot. He specializes in that sort of stuff.
Right. One
Nice.
thing about
Yeah,
this book.
that's true.
So I do appreciate, but it was also like it was to the book's detriment, but I still appreciate this as a reader normally, is this book didn't, except in the beginning of Six from Sirius 2.
Part
like
2, yeah.
Yeah, but in part 1, you have to like follow along. There's like you got to pick up their names from dialogue and
Not really. They dump all the characters on you and right in the beginning of book 1 and sort of give you a little, you know, they give you that little sort of like taste of each person's personality. A little bit,
true.
you know, like Screed
you're right.
has that. Screed has that little. He's their whatever. What are they here? I'm gonna read off these stupid things. The freelance agent. He's specializes in history, myths, poetry, and explosive, and he has that back and forth with Starn, former officer. He's a freelance weapons specialist, and they have like sort of a little card gambling like thing back and forth. That's like there's even like a little mini cowboy moment where Screed kind of like puts his hand down by his gun. You know, whether that was intentional or not, I don't know. But
well, it's like a weird, yeah. There was you'll get some good turns of phrase from Doug too. It was like, you know, don't speak thunder if you can't. Don't speak. Something like that. I know that I'm not doing it justice, obviously, but I was like, okay. Every once in a while, someone says something like halfway cool.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Yeah, and I was like, that's unusual. That's not you, Doug. Then we've got actually your turn, Chris.
I just wanted to say Screed is the fucking worst.
Yeah, that's fair.
what?
As a poet, just like he's like constantly like throwing thee and thous at people and like constantly narrating his own actions because he's got to bring the art out of it.
Mm-hmm.
He was my favorite.
Oh, I gave him a Kelsey Grammer voice in my head. Was he your favorite?
Yeah.
Screed's your favorite?
Yeah, sorry, I don't know.
That's all right.
I like what he was up to.
He had
I don't
some
think
attitude. Sorry, yeah. So there's Zamantin, who's like a computer specialist / she's hung up on the captain.
Well, she's not just a computer specialist. Like she has some sort of like love affair with computers. Like
she wants to be a computer, basically.
Yeah. Not spoilers. That's going to come into like, what the fuck. I wrote down the women looked similar enough at first that I was like, okay, one of them has a skull cap, one of them has bangs. skullcap ponytail is Zemantin, and then Lamask has the bangs, and she's the psychologist, anthropologist, diplomat, as one is. It's what I like about her the most is like she has no charm whatsoever. she's like this nothing character who's just kind of. I think the least happens with her. Am I wrong about that?
She has one moment where she like
one cool moment.
Cult planet, and she's all horny, and she's like, "Yeah, gentlemen, I need to sample your culture."
Yeah. And she's like eating all the grapes and stuff. Yeah, you're right. So she does get that one moment at least, but and then our okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, all right. And our last one, Jakosa Lone, who's like Han Solo, right? Like
Jakosa Lone's the best name because it sounds like a fucking name that I would have made up for a role playing game.
It does.
At like 17. That's perfection. It's so shitty.
And they are the 6 from Sirius. They're sent from Sirius Hub. And I guess there's this intergalactic empire that's associated with the Sirius star, the dog star, which at the time would have been and is still today like associated with within conspiracy culture and weirdo culture as the place where like the aliens that visited Earth came from. Sirius, the Sirius system, like featured very prominently at that time. I don't know what its standing is nowadays, but.
Doug definitely knew that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. As a matter of fact, one of the planets, I don't know if this is a coincidence, but I'm going to guess not. So there's 2 planets. So there's the Sirius hub. This is going to get real complex real fast. Because like, how do we explain what the mission is? Like, this is the shittiest heist ever for the stupidest reasons.
Well, they really feel like pirates to me. Right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. They're or the A-team, pirate A-team, space pirate A-team.
What do you call that? The freelance pirates, like that England would hire. There's a name for that.
Like the Buccaneers or something? Like the no, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah.
Yeah.
Like sanctioned piracy, like wink wink nod nod.
Yeah. And they're all like, the best of the best in the galaxy. And you're like, none of these people, like, they're the best at anything.
Yeah, no, they kind of suck, except for Jakosa's, like, unusually overly competent captain.
Yeah, which makes him kind of like a Captain Kirk kind of thing. So there's a lot of different stuff happening here. But so the 2 planets, they're about to intersect into, like, some sort of diplomatic crisis between 2 planets. Exelon, which is coded as like darkness and black, and I guess it's the more ancient society, if I remember correctly. And then there's Balsamo, which is coded as white, and it's kind of an up and comer society, and there's sort of like some tension between the 2. The name Balsamo is it was associated with like Cagliostro or something, or Saint Germain. I was doing some research for the Invisibles. And I came across one of their middle names or code name or something like that had something to do with Balsamo. I wonder how many other stupid references there are in this.
That would not be a fun game to play.
No, I did not play that game. I was just like, oh, that's interesting. And these 2 planets are battling over. So it's kind of like Apocalypse and New Genesis in the New Gods. Maybe something like that, and they're fighting over a moon or something called Heavenstone, which was like a colony where they sent all the religious freaks. Like it's like the Puritans got, but they're not Puritans. It's the opposite of Puritanism. And they got sent to this place, and it got geo-engineered to be a habitable planet, and
like a pleasure planet.
Yeah, where these highly religious but deeply sensual people are just exiled to, and it's become, we might as well say, because again, who cares? It's become a staging ground for for an attack against the other Axelon or whatever.
Right. So they're smuggling weapons there as well, right?
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. And it's kind of armed it like a Death Star, basically.
Yeah, and it's meant to be like a really shitty analog for the Cuban Missile Crisis, which would make Balsamo the Russians and Axelon the Americans, and Heavenstone Cuba. Which, if you put it like that, you're like, that doesn't add anything to this. In which case,
No.
what is Sirius in all of this? What is the Sirius?
And then they go, so they go on this weird pirate mission to rescue this Phaedra, who's like, the confusing part for me is like she's just like a shitty figurehead that has no idea all of that's going on.
Yeah, she's like the diplomat, but like they've kept her entire culture a secret to her for her entire life, and she has ESP, like she can read minds or like catch flashes. But she doesn't have any inkling that her people are actually like trying to destroy this other planet.
I have a thesis, not a thesis, like I have a pet theory that, so if you go to like the very first page of after the introduction, after Archie Goodwin's introduction, then you go to the main page where it first says 6 from Sirius, Phase 1 Phaedra. It shows her meditating, and it's zooming in on her eyes, like somewhere in strange light a mind conceives, and like we're going into her brain, right? And then the next page, like it's narrowed, like we're still seeing from her perspective, and then it goes out into the story. Like none of this happened. This is like one of those situations where like this is just fully taking place inside this chick's mind. She's going insane, and this is what
Jacob's Ladder situation.
Yeah, I think so. And it just didn't really like Doug didn't really tie that bow up, but that's absolutely what is happening here. That's
you
why
know
she's
what?
so.
If I ever go crazy, I hope this is what happens in my head.
Oh, you would never run out of entertainment. It would just be dialogue constantly. What is everybody saying? Yeah. So like, I guess then they're
so
off.
Phase 1 is bringing this diplomat out because they need her, apparently. So I guess like one thing that saves this is that they don't know the full plan. It keeps getting like revealed to them piecemeal.
Yeah, Jakosa knows though, doesn't he?
No. He knows that he
okay.
has to. Yeah, he's like figuring out with the rest of them. Like he knows that they have to like pick up Phaedra, and that she's going to be important to stopping. Jakosa knows that they're trying to stop the destruction of Heavenstone, but anything beyond that is kept from him.
Right. As rightly so. You can't let these people know. So they rescue her, and then she's fucking baffled. I'm supposed to be here because like they're keeping me safe.
She puts up like an annoying fight during the rescue too. It's just painstaking to go through.
Doesn't he want to be rescued? And you're like, well, what are the stakes here? I guess maybe that's one of the failures of this book is just like because information's being parceled out slowly to the characters in the story, we have nothing to latch onto. Like we don't understand the stakes.
True.
Yeah.
And we're just like we're waiting, like we're left to wait just like everybody else, and like the story's not interesting enough to make us want to wait to find out what the stakes are.
No, the only stakes that happen in the first issue by the time they get her back to the ship is that like Zemetin or whatever drops like 3 buttons off her shirt.
That's true. Yeah,
she's really jealous.
Yeah, that's true. I like these robots too. The fax men. They're like,
oh yeah,
yeah. I like that they're programmed to call each other fool.
Does he call the other one fool?
Yeah,
you're standing here, fool.
Yeah. It's an assault. It's not an assault, fool. Or it's an assault, fool, but not an attack. Explain.
They call themselves fool more than once. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh. I guess that's we have that to look forward to. When robots start calling each other fools, we know that AI has arrived. And some of these monsters are rad. What I don't want, like, I don't want to just do like a, and then this happened and this happened, because like we'll be here all night. Because it's just like, but I love.
I'm flipping through the first issue, just thinking, oh my fucking god.
Yeah, how are we gonna summarize all this? You know, like
Yeah.
I just like I want to take a moment to like pull back on and talk more about Galassi for a moment. Like some of these, like James, do you know how this was colored?
No, actually.
It's all marker. This is all colored with marker, like, and it's all Paul Galassi. He does the pencils and the inks, and he colored all of it as well. And
Shit.
yeah,
That's unbelievable.
yeah, which is, you know, and they gave him lots of time to do it. And I love all of this, like the color choices and the backgrounds, everything. Chris, you called it, you know, like dynamic, and I agree, even though it's still very kind of Buck Rogers, everything in its own panel. Like it could conceivably be the sort of comic that you might find in a 1940s newspaper. It's very old in that way, and Galassi, because his very, like, they call it sort of cinematic. What am I looking? It's like a movie. Sorry, I don't know why I'm having troubles with that word. And everything's no. We'll call it cinematic. There was a more specific word I was looking for. It doesn't matter. It's like a storyboard, right? You could easily film all these things, but it's still also very comic. But yeah, it's classic, I guess, is what I'm getting at, and very clear, very classic, but also still very vibrant. Which I think is another reason that this is not the style nowadays. Like, and not just because it's very 70s, but just it's not even the sort of retro that people are interested in comics, I think.
Yeah, that's kind of sad, because it's so. I guess it's unique because of the way, like, what you're describing. There's not really, like, even like in any, like, comics media, this feels like kind of an oddity.
Yeah, well, like, look at, there very rarely does anyone break a panel. Like in Six from Sirius 2, one of the fight scenes at the end, there's some movement of bodies between panels, but for the most part, everybody's trapped within the little boxes. And I think especially in the first series, I'm flipping through it right now, seeing if I can find any exceptions, and so far I'm not. And I think that makes it especially claustrophobic, and maybe especially a bit of a slog, but also more classical.
Yeah, but in another vein there as well, like typically, like, space drama is especially like for the most part, I feel like really even in the 60s and 70s and old, like, sort of campy monster movies and alien movies, you would see that it would be, like, claustrophobic, and everybody's in sort of a little metal box with those sort of flickering light style computers, and I mean, you know, your Alien and everything too was like that, just like claustrophobic. That's like sort of like trapped in the vacuum of space style. These guys do go to, like, Galassi takes you on, like, a lot of landscapes though. Like a lot of different landscapes, ships and terrains, and, like, you name it, you're everywhere. You're in forests, you're in caves, you're on desert wasteland planets, you're in portals, you're everywhere.
Yeah, and every once in a while, like, he's also, like, there's a lot of, even in the first issue, there's so many cool, like, visual effects, like psychedelic visual effects, where the way that it's illustrated, if you stare at it too long, it kind of does a little wavy thing, you know, like visual illusions, that, or even, yeah, it's not just naturalism. Like, he's able to make things come alive, even in the most, like, this image of Axelon, the city that's coded as sort of ancient and black or whatever. Like, it's beautiful, and it's right out of, like, something you might see on Star Wars or something, you know.
Yeah, I'm looking at actually a panel from page 23 in book 2 where there's, like, they just showed all those skeletons, and they've got, like, sort of a flash of light in this cave system. There's a couple like panels in that in that set that are like, they're almost like hard on the eyes to look at, and it's like a bold perspective play, and like odd use of light, and the guy's using, like you just described him using markers, for fuck's sakes. Like what a hand, like to be able to like shock the system and put those landscapes on 23 and 24 across. Like it's just shocking, some of the imagery.
Yeah. You were going to say something, Chris.
No, I was just asking, is that that's the skeletons that are like sitting around the coffee table or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're like the elders of the religious thing. Yeah. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Why would you prop them up like that? But anyway, that's beside the
point.
Why
would they stay propped up? You know, like were they just sitting there that whole time? Like if I remember correctly, they got irradiated or something. Like they dropped a nuclear weapon or something on them.
Yeah, and they use their spiritual power to absorb the radiation and then transcend.
Yeah, and I can't make heads or tails out of the spirituality that is underpinning any of this bullshit. Like,
yeah, no, it's very blanket new age. And you know what? When we did Invisibles, one of your ongoing comments was that ultimately it was sort of like good vibes versus bad vibes, and that is absolutely the story being told here. And it got me thinking, like, in some level, is Doug Moench like the shittiest possible version of Grant Morrison, like a sort of predecessor? And like, is that sort of what I've been responding to all this time? Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's entirely possible.
Yeah.
Particularly in this story, like some of the elements, like he might have more in common with Peter Milligan, strangely, in that there's a lot of concern about identity and like shifting bodies, and like, what does it mean for you to inhabit a body that is not yours, or to end up in a body, that is not yours, or, you know, like, or fuck, I don't even know how to reconstruct like the stupid love triangle that emerges, like, so Jakosa's.
It's not really a love triangle at all. It's like like the one woman, like Zemetan or whatever, is a sort of just like a scorned, like, thirsty employee that just can't quite get Jakosa to acknowledge her in any way, shape, or form.
And so she ends up in the pretend body of the chick, like the Phaedra chick that Jakosa's actually into, and then they start getting close together because Jakosa's an animal, what does it mean? And I'm not sure it means anything.
Jakosa never actually beds anybody.
Oh, that's a good point. Almost, he almost kisses Phaedra, but he's he's too busy. He's a little busy, unlike Valis, who we'll meet in part 2.
Boy, yeah, he's got time.
Yeah.
Well, we have to get into this, even though it's annoying, because it's like the whole, like, there's this whole thing is this wide-eyed hippie, like, Age of Aquarius shit, and like the way they talk about each other, like, they instantly recognize each other. Her ESP is off the charts because it's like a Jakosa alone. I've never felt like this. They talk about like seeing each other with their bared souls, so it's like it's fundamental to what's going on here. Yeah. And so did you guys? I was actually really blown away by the big reveal. Like I thought that was a great twist.
Which one?
The one that the woman was like 3 different women.
Yeah.
And that was not. You liked that? I was like, what the fuck?
What I liked about it is that it felt very kind of Philip K. Dick to me. Like, this sort of like this idea that she was, okay, first of all, the dumb twist that like she was Jakosa Lone's ex-girlfriend who had her entire features like reshaped so that she could resemble the assassinated real Phaedra, who was basically an evil diplomat. So they replace her, but they rework her mind. They rework Jakosa's ex's mind in order to make her think that she was Phaedra the whole time. And so her actual personality is very deep. And I was like, it's so fucking mind-bending.
Yeah, well, and that's the Grant Morrison connection. Like that's like that deep, those deep fake kind of ideas. Like we've got people whose personalities are like buried under 3 other personalities, and so there's that. But then there's also so it's the ex-girlfriend Phaedra, and then what's her nose, the skull cap ponytail, cemented through her. Simultaneously through her lust for Jakosa and her desire to impress him, but also from her own like sort of perverted desire to make love or engage sexually with a machine, she ends up also being Phaedra.
Well, because that's when things get like, there's a cool plot twist, followed by like a Phaedra Faxman clone that Zemetan dumps her mind into, causing what I would describe as to be a shit show.
Yeah. Not wrong. And Jakosa's none the wiser throughout all of it.
No, what a titty. He did, as long as somebody looks like this broad, he's good for it. Even though the one had ESP. Like, how inept are you? Like, you're yeah.
Well, every once in a while,
only good in combat.
Yeah, I got the impression when she first like took him or whatever, it's me, Phaedra. Something wrong? No, it's so beautiful here. And he's like, I just saw something bad, Phaedra. The face of my own betrayal and disillusionment. So, given your new sensitivity, are you sure my present state won't cause you interference? And I don't know, that like you can kind of read that.
I think that's actually a third. So that's
the fax machine.
Creates basically like a clone or like a robotic replacement of her. So that one's the fax. Yeah.
Yeah, but still, this goes to James's point. Is just like
true.
The signs are there. Yeah, the signs are there. Like he's even like something wrong, and she's like, no, I've got tits, and I'm just gonna press them up against you. Let's go. And she takes him to a quiet spot. They start drinking, and he's almost testing her throughout of it. Like that's what's most frustrating is like he's sort of showing intelligence, but at the same time he's showing absolutely zero intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
You can read minds. You tell me. And she's like, no, I would prefer you show me. And then she gets shot. She's gonna shoot dude in the back or something.
Yeah, she pulls his gun and then gets shot in the hand by Zemetan, and then and then they popped a fucking battery in the wrist of the fax man, and she just sort of like dies on the floor.
Right.
Yeah, and then we get everything revealed.
And that's where she gets the body that she casts her consciousness into, right?
Yeah.
Lamask's there. No, yeah. Jakosa said.
Jakosa
said a lot of things.
My favorite fucking part out of this, easily out of the whole book, is when I forget where it is, but Phaedra is talking about like, I wish I shouldn't have done this thing with my body or something like that. And Jakosa's just like, it zooms in on his face, and you don't know that he's got a robot body too yet. And he's just sweating, and he's just like, what the fuck is going on?
Absolutely. I was actually going to say that's my favorite part too, where she's like, because she like they're attacked, and then like her body is just a smoking wreck. Like she's a skeleton. Like you can't see her, but her arm is just there.
Skeletal remains.
Oh yeah.
And then she looks back and has this little freak out. She's like, it can't be that bad to depart from your original body. And then just zooms in on him, and he's just sweating.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
He's like holding her too. He's like comforting her, but like when you see
that's right. One, it's like a little single panel with just like his mouth and his eye, and he's just like
yeah. And like a whole ton is being communicated because like Galacey's a fucking baller, but I like in that moment on page 7, like things haven't been revealed yet, and you're like, I guess maybe he gave up his body too, or like But it could easily be the case. Like I remember thinking at the time, like he was freaking out about like his lost girlfriend or something. Like this is a lot for a guy to
Yeah.
process, and so I thought he was maybe going insane.
Or just like, like putting on the brave face for like this absolute traumatic experience of like seeing his smoldering friend there. That's how I took it. But this book has this weird like techno-organic like spiritual melding thing where even machines have souls in this. Like the master fax, like the best of the faxmen sent to assassinate them, the elders like managed to assimilate it into their consciousness too, and like she talks about giving birth to its soul. It's weird. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, and I can release it, free it, give it birth. Yeah. It's sort of classically spiritualist in the sense that like matter is part of the spirit world. You know, like there is a continuity between the lowest and the highest. And yeah, Doug's aware of, like, same with Steve Englehart. I don't know if anyone else actually. I think Steve Englehart, maybe Jim Starlin at this time, and definitely Doug Moench. Like those guys were all into conspiracy culture. They were all into like hippie culture. And I don't know if Doug was into acid. This comic suggests that he was, but I don't.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't talk like guys like Steve Englehart. I think, if I recall correctly, will talk more explicitly about that, and like they talk pretty openly about people who were on acid at the time. And I remember, God, I hope I'm right, but I recall Doug talking in interviews about like people around him doing acid, but him not engaging in that. You know, this, and maybe that explains some things too. Maybe he needed to loosen up a little, you know. I don't know. Anyway, what are your favorite moments, guys? Let's from
part 1?
Yeah, or part 2, honestly. I don't know how much.
The jungle fight? Like, I like the jungle fight.
Oh, right. Yeah, that was classy with the rope.
I think that's in book 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
Book 3, that was great. I don't know. I like the I did like the roasted body. My body, I'm trapped. That was like sort of a, I don't know why, but I just stayed on that page for a minute. I was like, why?
Well, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then book 2 was horrible, and weird, but I like the I don't know, I like the weird high school bully guy that
Valis.
Yeah, he just like, he's the top of the class. It's the way they established him as like a dominant problematic villain is so stupid, but like also sort of awesome and ominous. Like he was actually like very concerned when the showdown started happening. You know? I don't know why he established him just as a like just fully as like a schoolyard or like a sort of a football star that outclassed you when you were a kid or something.
Yeah, and they sell that repeatedly throughout the story, and I guess maybe the distinction, the difference between him and Jakosa is like, okay, so like we're always told this Valis guy, he's always like, yeah, and I beat him in school, and he kept bringing it up, and the whole time he's like banging this chick, whose like breasts are openly available, like the tone changes. I don't think the tone changes, but like the explicitness of some of the imagery certainly changes. And like, meanwhile, Jakosa is not betting anyone, and like, I don't know if we should pin so much on that, but I certainly do. It shows like he's wholesome, you know, like women love him. He's a sort of a pure spirit, even though it's funny too because
it's funny too because what's this guy's dummy's name? Sorry.
Oh,
Valis. Valis is also like, his team is like like an anti-verse team. He's like the
Yes.
fucking negative. He's like fucking Bizarro or like the anti-Justice League or whatever.
Yeah.
Because he's got like an even uglier aliens, even more sexualized, pent up like chick that's pursuing him. Despite the fact that he's already in a relationship, and then he's got it's just so stupid. They're like the parallels that they draw.
Yeah. I wrote down some of their names because again, like this was one of those books where like if I didn't write down their names, there was no way I was going to remember them. Even with the original 6 from Sirius, I was like, if you asked me to rhyme them off like without looking at a piece of paper, I don't know if I could, even after talking about it for an hour. Actually, no. That might be okay now, but yeah, we got Zekros, Baltar, Perdissa. Some of these names are pretty all right.
These are better than the first set of names, yeah.
Yeah.
Valis is so, like, his team is just, I don't know. His team's just great.
Yeah. But getting back to this Philip K. Dick connection there, Chris, like that, did Valis exist as a Philip K. Dick book at this point? Do you know? By 86?
Yeah, by 86, I'm pretty sure it would have.
Yeah, let's find out. Valis, Philip K.
I think
Dick.
that was like 81 or 82, maybe.
81, yeah, okay, yeah. So that's got to be like a nod to like, yep, I'm doing some Philip K. Dick shit over here. Yeah, Chris, what are some of your favorite moments?
I like the whole consciousness activator thing that was the ultimate weapon that just sort of like united people's bad feelings and weaponized it for planet destruction. Like that was the secret of the first one. That was and they're like, as it's activated, like dead babies, skulls and blood, the minds of heaven unite in hell. This huge splash page, all this pent up energy. That was fucking weird.
Which book is that in?
That was the first one. That was like sort of the.
Oh no! Like which issue?
4.
Was it in 4? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I was flipping around.
And that's sort of like the final
finale.
You realize that this whole rescue mission has just been about.
Oh, there it is.
Like precious resources. Like they've just been sent in there because there's valuable stuff on that moon they don't want it destroyed. They decide to go rogue, but first they gotta save the day.
I love that collage.
Yeah. And then what's it? Phaedra like turns that energy, like it literally is good vibes versus bad vibes. She takes that energy and unites them to build, quote, a temple of minds and spirits. And then just like everyone's all peaceful and blissed out at the end. Oh, it's like they have they handshake their ancient rivalry away.
Yeah, and it's like, and this again is one of those situations where like, Doug, you had to have been doing acid, because like a hammer may be used to build a temple or smash a skull, and like, what is the consciousness actuator than the popular conception of what LSD would be capable of achieving?
Right, exactly,
You could either have a bad trip or you could like have a heavenly experience, but the same tool will take you to the same places. And some of this writing isn't. God, I'm hesitant to say this. Some of these, like when he does his little poetic bits, it's not bad. Something's happening there,
It wraps up all right. There's a vision.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Just one of my dumb, like when I was finally like, oh, there's Doug, that guy, like it turns out the Axelon people like also had a plan to like assassinate it, so like they were bad too. And then the guy like puts the gun to his head and he's like, if he dies, like the whole planet blows. But they stop him and he misfires and shoots. He's like he takes the shot, but he misses his head. He's like, I missed. Like no one would say that. But only in a
well, you
comic.
got to make sure that everybody understands. For Axelon. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just flipping. This Jakosa loan must be good, Valis. Second in his class.
It's just... And I love it. Like, I think it's in the 4th issue that it's revealed, and he's like, "Yeah, I won because I cheated."
Oh
He's
no,
like,
yeah, that's right.
yeah, and then she like completely turns on him. She's like, this is bad.
He's
I thought
very
I sat-
You mean
Brannigan.
Chalandria?
Say that again, James.
Sorry, you mean Chalandria?
Yeah.
Yeah.
His main squeeze. I forget when she starts. I think she turns on him sort of halfway through his misadventure. So basically, what happens with this Valis
Oh, that's
guy,
what the when she puts the sniper rifle on
Jakosa.
Jakosa, but she sees how goddamn fucking stunning he is.
Yeah, that's basically
Just
what
can't pull
happens.
the
isn't it?
trigger.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
she's just like, this guy is it.
yeah.
And
I
she
guess
just joins the cult following.
And I guess what's implied in that moment is like, in that moment, she knows that Valis is a goddamn liar. Because she just looks at him and there's like, no way this guy got beat by anybody, let alone Valis. I'm backing the wrong horse.
Jakosa's almost like, I don't know, like he's almost like biblical at that point. He's like Jesus Christ himself. He's just like his purity, just like she can't even pull the trigger. She's not even like,
Yeah.
it's so weird.
That's true. Even like whoever he's with is like, oh, you must smell really good or have good pheromones or something like that.
Yeah. I forget who it was. I think it was our diplomat chick who otherwise has no personality.
Yeah, she's just kind of like vaguely horny all the time.
Yeah. Which is fair. Speaking of vaguely horny, like this I don't know if vaguely is really the thing. Like, there's a gratuitous, like, Zemitin does not need to be nude when she turns into a ghost or whatever. Like,
That's right.
so like, once again, like she goes through the ringer in this. She's just constantly changing bodies and stuck in situations and not like, I think she gets her body back at the end, like a brand new fake body, but she's running around nude most of the time.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Quick
Yeah,
summary.
it's true.
Quick
Very
summary
metal.
of part 2.
Yeah.
Like, they're
Good
on
luck.
the run. Bounty hunters are being hired to bring him in by the Syrian homeworld. They get captured and put on this planet where, meanwhile, there's an ancient technology that is like a portal realm. So the idea is that you could hide an army in there or like transport them around. And the whole plot kind of revolves around going in and out of this place where simultaneously 2 civilizations have been trapped and are like killing each other for like an infinite amount of time. So there's ongoing war, and they think that Zemitin is their chosen one, or like a goddess, except for one guy who sees through it all. He's like a Nietzschean Superman.
The skull guy?
Yeah,
at the very least, yeah, at the very least, he became like secular. You know, like he just became like like, because all of this is based on some sort of like spirituality. Like there's whereas the first story is very hippie, good vibes, bad vibes. I don't know if that same thing sort of applies in this story, because there's much more of talk of. I know there was heaven and hell discussed in the other one, but this one's more like not the paradoxical, but the continuum between heaven and hell, or the interchangeability between the two things, the way they can flip. And I know that's very similar, you know, between good vibes, bad vibes, but actually maybe it's the exact same thing, but just
No, this is a little harder. It's a little darker.
Yeah. Well, it's particularly with the womb cyst, which or the sucker
Christ.
cyst. Yeah, the sucker cysts. Yeah. So okay, so what allows this? What fucking boggled the mind? And I was like, Doug, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you thinking of these things? So
LSD, bro.
yeah. So he's just like, okay. So they've got this. Basically, it's a space that allows for. There's no shortage of food or water. Like, it's basically this idea that the civilization can overpopulate, and the only way that, and this is another, we saw this in our Morbius episode, Chris, with Steve Gerber. I think it was Steve Gerber. There was there was kind of a concern about overpopulation and the mechanics of overpopulation in a finite space at this time. And I see some of that worked out here. And then so he's kind of like doing a thought experiment of like, what if there was like this place where like matter is just endlessly produced, but you also needed at the same time some energy that would allow the matter to be endlessly produced. So what if there was like this womb that ejected matter, but at the same time it drove matter to a place where it was thereby absorbed into the womb to make, like this Ouroboros type thing. But I'm like, as is normal with Doug, you're like, why is this the metaphor you reached to? Like, well, why is this the scenario that made the most sense and that you needed Paul Gulacy to draw? What, like, this is a poem that shouldn't have been written, that not only was written, but turned into a comic and illustrated beautifully by, like, the master. It boggles. That's Doug. But
Yeah, it does. And it's like literally like this matter gets regurgitated as this pink slime that he calls the womb that they eat, and it also may be hallucinogenic. Like, it's just like, what a fucking life these guys live. And then he talks about how they're trapped, like, unless you get to the rim where everything explodes. What the fuck?
Well, yeah, like when you get to the rim and everything explodes, like that's what powers the system.
The reactor. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it's just like I can just see, like, obviously he worked this out in his brain, like step by step, and put a civilization around it and stuff. And I guess that's what you do with sci-fi, right? Like, you come up with like a weirdo idea and you build civilization and stakes around it. And like, he's doing sci-fi proper here, but
Yeah.
To what effect?
This guy was very untrustworthy. This guy, James called him like the master splinter of the society. And that works really well.
The little golem guy, the skull collector that explains his like ludicrous backstory. This is so long.
Yeah. And even when he realizes that Zemitin isn't their goddess, he just like sends his people out to get killed because he's like, yeah, we need population control. Run off to die. Now we can talk.
Yeah.
He's so cynical. And then like, I thought for sure, like, he's telling their story and they invited and fair enough, like, they're a slave race. They escaped into this portal, and then the master race came in because their society was under threat. So as soon as they come in, they just like club the shit out of them.
Start clubbing the fuck out of the guy.
Yeah. It's like, but we couldn't kill them all. So basically his plan was genocide to begin with. You're like, yeah, this is our spiritual guide.
Yeah. My favorite scene, it's kind of, it takes us off topic, but one of my favorite scenes in part 2 is like, so there's that Perdissa chick, in the I don't even know what to call it, like she's got the shoulder pads, but somehow is also wearing a bathing suit, and like with the zealot hair. And so she's walking around, she's moving some boxes on a cart, and they throw a brick, like, distract her, and then they hide under like, just get on the cart.
Yeah, like three of them or whatever. They after they throw the brick, they run up behind her and like go under a blankie on the fucking cart, and it works.
Yes, yeah, and then they like get right into the station like Solid Snake style, and you're just like,
say that's your Metal Gear Solid love coming out.
Yeah, and then they fucking basically, and then the best is when Grodd or whatever just like fucking swipes her legs out, ass over tea kettle, and then like grabs her at gunpoint, and it's just like a shit standoff, and Jakosa's all pleased with himself. He's got his gun down at the hip like fucking John Wayne. It's just a shit show, and I'm like, what is this? Come on. That's fine. It was so well rendered that it was awesome to behold.
Oh, honestly, I don't mind, like, and I guess maybe something that's getting lost in our complaints about like this is a slog and this is whatever. Like, I'll say again, like, 2 of my favorite sort of comic possessions are the issues. Like, I just love to flip through them. Like, I don't like to read this book. I like the vision of it. It's definitely fucking ridiculous. I'm trying to figure out where they did their little sneaky thing. Was that in issue 4?
I think it was probably before that.
I want to say it was. I think it was 2, issue 2.
It was
in
2.
The second
Okay,
part.
good.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about the epic fight at the end there between Jakosa and Valis?
Oh
Oh,
god.
the kung fu fight?
Yeah.
Like where the kicks started getting thrown. Like not a single person threw a ninja kick in the whole in all 8 issues. And all of a sudden this guy's like fucking Bruce Lee.
Yeah. Did you try to like follow the motion? I think it works pretty well.
It was very good. Yeah, you could follow the fight right through.
And this is when I think like, and I think that's why like their collaborations on Batman and Master of Kung Fu, like more martial artsy action, like physical action books, and even Slash Maraud, I think they're better suited for it. Like I think between the two of them, they come up with some, this is where the dynamism is, and I think that's why Series 2, although it is shitty, I think it's a smoother read, just like Chris had said in our chat.
The portal critters, little devil men and lizard men warring against each other. I think it's just like it. I felt like the second part was a little diminished comparatively, but and then the guy, your favorite scene.
Oh, laying in bed.
The guy in bed.
It's like dominating.
Talking about dominating Jakosa after he bangs his girlfriend. It's fucking
superb, Chilandria. But for her, this time there is little enjoyment. So she's like, she's fucking bored. Didn't even come. And he's like,
this wasn't great. And he's like, let's talk about Jakosa for a bit though.
This obviously cemented like what side she's on at this point. She's just like, I can't even come without Jakosa anymore. And you're just talking about it.
No, yeah. Even a sexless fantasy of Jakosa through her sniper scope was better than this guy.
Yeah.
He's almost that Brannigan, like before Futurama, but like he's like that kind of windbag. I don't love this, but like the he's got like the detonator at the end, he's bluffing, he's trying to get like 6 billion credits or whatever. And
let's talk about that stupid scheme. Continue though.
Okay, yeah, well then like when Kala like sells him out and she's like, it's not a real detonator, and they just like he elbows her in a way that you would never see these days. Like it's just a fucking beatdown.
Well, he did slap his other girlfriend too.
Yeah, but this is like he's.
Oh my goodness! I see you witch.
Yeah. He just is revealed to be this like total fucking shitbag, which I mean we kind of already knew, but like when he kills Grodd, it just like blows a hole for him, and then he's like using him as a human shield and taunting Jakosa at the same time. Grodd doted on you almost as much as Demeter's did. He's just like mocking him.
He elbowed her like Matt Brown.
Yeah. Oh Jesus! Wow. Yeah, and even when he's holding Grodd's body, like he's got the pistol like a Dirty Harry kind of thing, he's got like a Magnum, essentially Space Magnum, and and he's also like he's bragging again. In the end, I still win again. Ridiculous. Yeah.
And then the next page when he drops her, he's just like, it's just the way he's running. It's so well depicted. It's just this like real like, I don't know, so cowardly.
Almost a panic. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. He's just the worst piece of shit. And he still puts up a really good fight though. But okay, so his fucking bluff is the stupidest. I think I put this. I think I cut and paste this scheme of his. Wonder if I can find it. He's like, in this detonator. Yeah, here we go. And she's like, but surely Carissa will demand you turn over the detonator before you leave, which is why the real detonator will remain aboard ship, right there in front of Jakosa's wanted poster. Like it's stupid. It's like, I'll have this detonator on me. And they're like, well, they're going to want you to give it the detonator. He's like, well, it's not going to be a real detonator. I'm going to leave the real one on the ship. Like, this is not. He's like, you're going to bluff? And he's like, absolutely.
I just realized how completely I didn't dawn on me, but like he's just completely obsessed with Jakosa to the fact that he's like he just has to leave it like in front of his poster. Like that's
Yeah.
That's kind of weird. There's an element to this that's very like obsessive.
Yeah. Well, because he like I guess the implication is that his moral failing, like pricks him. Like his outward bluster or whatever is just to make up for the fact that he knows that cheating isn't actually winning.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But Doug's such a great writer that he just doesn't. He knows he doesn't actually need to express it because we're going to figure it out. It's maybe his finest hour.
Did you notice that during the kung fu fight that eyeball alien guy gets like a cave critter spear straight into the groin?
I did. It's like a gas. It's like they're holding him down, and like it's like a gas.
Yeah, it's on page 21. They're just, they're like pinning him down, and they're like, "There, drill that spear right into his nethers." It's like a one, like no excuse.
Yeah, it's like they pin him down with like 3 other spears, like murdering him while they do this too.
Someone's about to stab him. He's holding one guy by the throat, and that guy's about to just come down with a knife. Like, this guy's fucked.
Yeah, like these guys can't be released on society.
The cave critters? No way.
Yeah.
I like at the end that they just agree to go back to the cyst womb or the sucker cyst or whatever.
And then they launch it into space.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like, what's going to happen? I had weird thoughts about like, isn't nuclear fire going to burn through the portal now? Like, isn't that something that's going to like change their landscape dramatically? Maybe it doesn't work like that. They dropped 7 of them or whatever. This is like a Stargate thing too. But to no good end.
And it looks like they're dropping them directly into the sun. Like that's
Yeah, exactly.
That's the last image.
Yeah. And it's done. And it's kind of, I don't know. Ever leave the hive and emerge from the... So if they try to leave, they're going to find themselves on the sun.
Yeah, I feel like that was an odd choice considering...
it's just endless odd choices. And they treat it as a burial. So, like, I guess, who are they burying? I guess...
Valis?
Valis, for sure.
Yeah.
He's in there, sweating.
Oh, yeah.
But they, like, ended an entire, like, civilization in order to get rid of Valis. They, like, gave him to a bunch of cave critters, like, to meet an awful end. And even if Valis decides to somehow come out victorious against an entire culture, he would, be met with, like, just nuclear fire?
I think that's it. He just can't ever leave. So they trapped him in the...
It was like a fucking epic like win, like an overkill.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like something. It's like throwing him into the Phantom Zone. It's really not warranted. He's a piece of shit. You just put a bullet in his head, and I guess he deserves this though.
Yeah,
but, yeah. You could have just shot him with one of those ludicrous weapons that just like burst you into fucking flames or whatever.
Yeah, that was an option, but.
I mean, also, like, speaking of entire cultures, like, the implication here is that, like, the entire green race was genocided. Like, there's...
I don't finally genocided. Yeah, that, like, you mean that, like, Ghost, what's her name, Zemitin or whatever, basically rallied them to finally complete the genocide of the lizard men.
Yeah, because even when they go back in, they're like, well, I think it's going to be a lot different in there now.
Yeah, not bad. You can just eat the pink slime and fucking roll around. No worries, because we killed all the fucking green guys.
And it's all painted as like it's all markered up as red. You know, like the when Valis on the ground, like you lose Valis. Like, are they all committing suicide?
Oh, are you saying
that Doug is such a good writer that he's used color to imply that hell has taken over? Like those questions of like, is it heaven? Is it hell?
Well, I don't know if Doug had anything to do with it, but I mean, it is implied that like, I don't know, something's changed. Like the blood red. Well, it's not even blood red, but and then the machine, you know, they're falling into the sun. But I think it's if the Quatrals or Valis ever leave the hive and emerge from the gateway, I wonder where they'll find themselves, but they'll find themselves in the sun.
They'll find themselves on the surface of the fucking sun.
Yeah. So they're definitely trapped, but I mean, like, I guess the question I was asking is whether or not, like, whether it would destroy the world on the other side, but I guess it doesn't really. I'm going to say that it does.
Yeah, like absolutely it should.
Yeah, and that they're all committing suicide, or maybe they don't. Like, do they know they're committing suicide? And Zemeton set them on to it. I think the hive will be a far better place to live out our days.
Yeah.
Yes. ... I think you're right. ... And may you live to be very old. ... And very wise. I don't know. That argues against it. She's crying though.
Yeah, she's crying. That's the one thing.
Yeah. And she's just like, no, I know what happens next.
Well, yeah, because Master Splinter got that ignoble end too, right? That was upsetting. Where he dies, he gets shot trying to get the blaster for them, and and then he's like, "My goddess, maybe on the other side, I'll see you there too." It's like, no, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
The old one.
Yeah.
So with that, like, that's how I read it, and I think that's how we're reading it. This is just like their solution is just like, we just need to get rid of this thing. It's too dangerous. It's like a Grey Goo machine that might be unleashed at any moment, led by Valis, who was unnecessarily kept alive. It's like they created their own problem, really. What does that mean, though? Like, what the fuck does any of this mean? I don't. That's the problem I have. Like, we've talked about it for at least an hour at this point, and I don't know, other than good vibes versus bad vibes.
No, it's like a mad sci-fi romp. It's across the fucking galaxies. It's just an epic adventure. It's like an epic pirate adventure. There's not really a point.
But, like, at the same time, it points to the promise of a point. And like expertly dodges that obligation at every opportunity.
So I think the first book had a point, and it is very much like on this, like, like life is great in and of itself. Like, use to have good vibes. Like it did have a message, but then the second one was
that's what I'm
like
saying. I'm saying the second book fell off. Like, the second set is where confusion reigns and everything goes sideways. As soon as I saw that little cave guy, and the little fucking goblin started
she's nude
the story of his womb, and gave her like a dress, and she's like screeching around through the caves naked, and lizard men are getting stabbed, and I was like, all right, you know what? Something's wrong here. This has gone sideways.
I think you're selling me on that. Like, honestly, I do think the first book is a better achievement. But I think I was just so happy that the second one seemed like lighter or had more action sequences that I was on board.
There's just like, and I feel that too. I feel the second one was more pleasurable from like a madness and combat perspective. Like, if you want to soak in Khaleesi's action and get some extra titties, I just threw that in there. But that's definitely what happened in book 2.
You don't even.
I didn't know
even get that. Yeah, don't even get that in Slash Maraud.
No, this was wicked heavy metal for me, and it had. If it was made in the 70s? Did you say?
No, it was 86, but it's.
I was gonna say, like, it did lean in on a lot of 70s like design aspects, but then had that 80s fucking boobs and murder.
You know what?
I think so.
Too? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, James.
Oh, it's just like some of the hairstyles that you'll get, like the like Perdissa, like that, the short bleach blonde hair, like that's very 80s. You get perms and stuff. It does become more 80s in the second one. Now that I'm looking at it, but still the machine designs and the sci-fi elements are still very 70s. But some of the fashion or aesthetics are turning 80s. It's like a real, still not there, which is weird. Like, you'd think in 86 they'd be there, but they are old white guys. Like they're Yeah, I wonder how old would they have been at this? Like they're in their 40s at this point.
Oh, that's
So,
impressive.
yeah, as you well know, that's the point where you stop being cool. So, and you're stuck.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. Is that the exact point where it stopped being cool? I can't remember. I really feel like
Galacey's
it was.
30
I feel
at
like it
this
was
time.
actually like 30. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Galacey's 30 at this point. And anyway,
I feel like I still had a few things going for me in my early 30s, but it definitely tapered.
yeah, we like it's. I guess what I'm pointing to is like it's no surprise that they're not hip with what the kids are into, even though like because even the original Star Wars is very 70s. I know it came out in the 70s, but like it maintained that 70s aesthetic throughout. It never tried to be like Blade Runner or anything like that. It stayed very much in the Buck Rogers camp in the
first one, yeah.
camp. I would say even the second and the third one. Maybe the third one a little less, but yeah, definitely the first one. But then again,
the second one had some. I feel like made some leaps and bounds in special effects. But
well, that's not what I'm not talking about the special effects though. I'm talking about like the design of guns and the look of armor. Like the stormtroopers never got updated, right? They always stayed stupid looking.
Iconic, some would say.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, some would say iconic. Darth Vader looks so stupid nowadays. I'm just gonna go out and say that like he's all used up. They need to somehow update
How
him
dare you?
or put him away. Looks fucking ridiculous.
Put him away. Yeah.
Just like this comic, they need to. But fortunately, like it's not like Vader where it's like market saturation. This is ready to get popped. Like this is coming alive.
Ready? Yeah, it's
I'm
Marvel property.
Putting it out. If you can get a hold of this, like I would say go for a romp. Go for a ride.
Yeah,
dude. You don't have to read a lot of it if you don't want, but
yeah, you're probably better off not. I think if anyone's learned anything from today's conversation, I hope it's like buy this book, enjoy the art, kind of like dip in if you're at a cottage, spend the time reading all the things. If you're not,
better if you've got 6 friends. Oh, and you could do the whole thing. Do that. Yeah.
Now all we need is a little energon and a lot of luck.